everyone, it's Karen Burniston here with our October 2025 virtual class. So you have made it to the class day recording. We are going to be making Halloween cards this month. We've got 2 of them to make. This fun little charm staggered accordion here is going to be our card number 1. And then card number 2, we're going to take that charm accordion and we're going to do a card assembly. So that's going to look like this. Fun kind of alternate assembly of the charm accordion. We're going to mix in that tree. Got all sorts of 3D fun happening in this card number 2. And yeah, that's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun class. Okay, so there were 4 required dies. So to participate in this class, you had to have these 4 dies. So they are the Witch and Cauldron, the Tree Pop-Up, the Charm Accordion, and then the Skeleton and Bat. So those dies are required because what you should have done ahead of this video, if you are a student that bought a class kit, is you followed the detailed PDF instructions and the prep work video to get your bulk materials into ready to assemble card kits. And what this video is putting these card kits together. So we always have new people each month, and maybe you're a person who did not realize until today that you had prep work to do. That's fine. This is a pre-recorded YouTube class. You are in control of that pause button. You just hit pause right now or cancel it out, whatever you need to do. Go over, go back to your handout that was emailed to you by the store where you purchased your kit. And in that handout, you'll find the link to the prep work video, and you can do all of that paper pre-cutting and getting your kit ready. That's all covered in that other video. And then once you have your kit looking like this, ready to assemble, then just come right back here to this video. Yeah, okay, so what are you going to need today? So since you've already done all of your die cutting, we are basically now to assembly, all right? So some things you are going to need. Probably most important is your scissors and glue. I like my Lineco neutral pH adhesive. I've got that in my fine tip bottle. We sell those items on our website as well as, the stores that sell the kits. They sell it as well. To keep that glue flowing, I like to just put a damp paper towel in the bottom of a jar and then keep that needle tip down in that paper towel. It'll just stay flowing for you throughout class. You won't have to worry about it. All right, then what else are you going to need for class? Get that off my scissors. You are going to, if you like the look of ink, well, you know what, you're gonna need at least brown ink, or green ink, because our witch, she doesn't have green skin yet, so you're gonna want some ink and a blending tool. Could be a blending brush, doesn't have to be this ink. If you like the colors that I used on my original, I'll tell you what they are. They are, for the green, I used Peeled Paint Distress ink. Then Rusty Hinge is the brown I used, kind of a orangey brown. Then I've got Black Soot. That one's kind of hard to read. And then I have Carved Pumpkin. So these are the 4 inks that I used on that card 1. I think when we get to card 2, I added in some red. All right, yeah. All right, well, let's just get started. I would suggest that you have something to dump the pieces into, a tray, paper plate, something, because we created a lot of pieces when we did all the prep work for this, and some of them are pretty darn small. So, all righty. We're going to start with the staggered accordion. That is our card number 1. And I'm going to just turn off my face because I find it distracting. Okay, here we go. Let's get going. Fun, fun, fun. All right, so the charm accordion, let's talk about that die first. So where's my die? It basically it makes just kind of this fun little pint-sized accordion, right? You can just mail that in an A2 envelope. It's even smaller than an A2. But it comes with a little hinge die where you can just keep hinging them together, and you can make them as long as you want. And then it has this little charm frame that kind of connects the inner 2 squares together, and then you can dangle some little charms off of that. And this one comes with some charms. So it's got charms that come with it. A star, a butterfly, a heart, flower, and an apple come with it. Kind of flourish that we didn't use. You've got some little set of charm rings here and some decorator pieces. So really, really nice set. Yeah, you can see that flourish, how well that flourish fits kind of in the corners, depending on the theme that you're doing. What we're going to do is we're going to change it up a little bit. So we're going to use 4 pages. So we're going to basically use the equivalent of 2 charm accordions. But we're going to flip this page so that the squares, instead of being all lined up together, are going to stagger. And then we're going to cover this page front and back so that it becomes a solid one that we can have for our cute little witch there. All right. So first thing we need to do is we need to find the 2 charm accordions that we cut. So we cut those out of this gray cardstock. The die has made a score line up the middle. Okay, we want to find that on both of those pieces. Okay. All right, so one of these is going to be our final set, and that one doesn't have to be cut apart. It's basically already hinged together because it was, you know, it comes that way with the die. And for this one, we're actually going to cover up this page with some of the pieces that we cut. So we should have a piece of the light gray cardstock that we cut to kind of a strange size, if you remember that size when you were doing prep work, so that it would fit nicely and give you a good border. You know what I'm realizing is I've got a piece of cardstock that's essentially the same color as my mat here. So let's see what happens if we put a piece of paper underneath that. Probably make it easier for you to see. All right, so first thing we're gonna do is we're just gonna glue this piece on, and we're just gonna center it on that right-hand page. Probably best to put your adhesive, well, I would do two things. You could do adhesive all over this square right here. Okay, we're covering it up if you want to, and then maybe go around the perimeter here. I didn't ink the edges of this one. You could if you wanted to, but I'm trying to avoid, not that it would matter because we're going to put a piece of art on the back as well, but like you've got holes in this, so if you just willy-nilly slather your ink all over the back of the light gray cardstock, then it can get down into that opening, kind of make a mess. All right, so I'm looking at these three edges, and I'm just trying to get a nice equal-ish border. Okay. Then we have, oh, it's so funny. I remember in prep work that I said, oh, I'm going to cut these a little bit long because I can just glue them to the paper and then trim it. And then I didn't glue it to the paper and trim it. But this one's actually really close. If I took just a smidge off of this one, I wouldn't, it would fit perfectly, I think. Yeah. Okay, so this is just a decorator piece. Oh, it looks like I put it all the way to the bottom. Okay, so I just put that to the bottom just to put a little floor in there for our witch scene. So the way that this is going to go, this is a pre-recorded YouTube video, which means I am recording this a couple days ahead of the premiere. If you happen to be watching it at the premiere, then what you're going to see is that there's a chat box, probably depending on whether you're on a tablet or a phone or a computer, kind of over here. And I'm in that chat box, so if you happen to be watching it at the premiere and you have a question or something, you can ask me. Most people don't ask questions because they're just busy making their project. And what's nice about this being pre-recorded is that you are in control of that pause button. So you do not have to go as fast as me. I'm not going to speed myself up. I'm just going to craft at my usual pace. But the difference in the YouTube video class day recordings versus the Zooms is that I'm not going to just pause and say, okay, well, you know, catch up. So because you can pause it, you can just pause it. So if you want to watch me do a step and then you want to hit pause, get caught up, and then restart it again, that you have complete control over that. So I'm going to try not to go too fast so that those of you who can and feel comfortable just kind of crafting along with me, you'll be able to do that and not be, you know, too far behind with the pauses and stuff, but really just go at your own pace. It's totally fine. All right, now on the back of that page is going to be that piece of the black and kind of checkerboard piece. So we cut that with a trimmer as well, same size as the gray one. That one's going to go on the back. I'll just flip it over. Okay, so then you'd never know that underneath all that there's a piece. Well, now I can just put the adhesive everywhere I want to because there's no holes anymore. And I guess you could have had the hanging pumpkins up if you preferred, so that's up to you. These papers are from Graphic 45, new collection this year for 2025, and let me tell you, they are amazing. And they have been so popular that they sold out of some designs. Graphic 45 did, and I mean, they did like a reprint, and then they still sold out. So, you know, if you think you might want to do this class, we sold out of these kits on our website, but you can go on our website on KarenBurniston.com and you can look in the events tab and you'll find a list of stores that made kits for this class. I mean, depending on when you're watching and if you're watching it close to when class was. And then you can possibly still get a kit. And then you can just do your prep work, come back, do this video, all that kind of stuff. All right, so that's going to be what we're going to do here for our page, our second set of pages. Yeah, you know what? You're going to need your trimmer. So, by the way, you're going to need your trimmer because we're going to, when we go to put all the decorator pieces on, we're going to trim them down a little bit so that we get a nice little border around the thing. Sorry, I didn't tell you that. So, hit pause. If you need to hit pause, go get your trimmer so that you can cut those down. So, you will need a trimmer. I'm not there yet, but when we get there, we'll want to have our trimmer. All right. So, that's what we're going to do with this page. Now, with this one, what we're going to do is we're going to cut it on the score line because we want to flip this page over and have the, the square pivoting at the bottom. So what I would suggest is do that either with your scissors or your trimmer. That's up to you. Let me see. I'm going to see if I'm trying to remember on the charm accordion, if it's a proper measurement that's easy to put in your, okay, it is. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it's 3 1/4. So it's 3 1/4. I was going to say, I would do it with your scissors if you don't have a trimmer that you think, that you can comfortably get right on the score line with it. So 3 1/4, check, that's right up the middle. And we're going to cut that into 2 pieces. But you could just do it with your scissors. You really could. Wouldn't matter. Okay. So now we have this. And we're going to take this middle one and we're going to turn it so that the square's pivoting on the bottom. So now we have this. Okay. And then what we're going to do to hinge those together is we made hinges during prep work. Okay, so remember we made now the die set comes with a little hinge. We will end up using that hinge on the second card. But for this one, I just kind of like the idea of hinging at the whole distance or close to the whole distance. We cut these just a little short so you wouldn't have to worry about it sticking out the top or the bottom. So we cut them just a little bit short. But basically you're going to use those hinges behind the pages to glue them together. Now, eventually, when we get this all folded up, this first hinge, between these 2 pages is going to be a valley fold. See that? In the finished card, it's going to be a valley. And then this one's going to be a mountain. So you could attach your hinges that way if you wanted to. Mountain and valley, that's kind of up to you. But what I would do is, what I am going to do, what I'm about to do it, is I'm going to just add my adhesive all over this hinge. Okay, I'll start with 1/2. And since this is going to be a valley fold, I'll just stick the valley kind of on top of the page. Maybe even like this. I'm gluing it to the back, but I'm trying to get it, down in there where I will be able to fold it valley style. Okay, so I just glued it right back here. Okay, and then this page is going to go on this side. Now, it's up to you. You could, if you wanted to, fold that down over the top of this one so that you can line up the corners. Okay, then put your adhesive here. Like this. Okay, and then just fold it over and on. That way you don't have to, then it's going to line up. Not that it matters that much, I guess, if it lines up, but, at least it's straight across the bottom, so it'll make it a nice display piece, Okay, hang on. This is why I'm glad for glue. I did not get that very straight. I think I'm going to change my mind, y'all. Must have shifted as I was doing it. Let me see. Let me try that again. Yeah, I got off. I'm going to do it this way. I can just look. Okay, I might need more glue. I think I will need more glue. Okay, hang on. All right. Zzz. See, I don't get to edit these. You have to just see me making my mistakes. Okay, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to do it this way. That way I can look at the top and the bottom because I did not get that very straight. Try number 1. Okay, I'm much more pleased with that. Nice. Okay, so there's that. Then this one is going to be a mountain fold hinge. Okay. Just going to bring that right up to that fold line. And again, I'm just centering it top to bottom. It's funny because with dies, of course, like, you know, they don't have to be like some easy to use measurement, right? Because the die does all the work for you in cutting it. So then when you want to do these like extra techniques and stuff, sometimes you end up in a situation where you're cutting pieces that are 4 1/16 by 3 1/16, as you all know from doing your prep work. So that happens sometimes. All right, so then this one's going to go right here. Okay, and there is the structure of our 4-page charm accordion. So it's going to be like this. Got to do a bunch of decorating to it before we can start, you know, making it into a pop-up. Because what's going to make this everything pivot is going to be the addition of these little charm frames. But we don't want to put those on until we've got all of our paper decorations on, because otherwise you have to cut the paper to get it on there. Or at least this one and this one, you'd have to. And we're going to end up decorating it front and back. So let's start that process here. Okay. As with always, if you can mix and match your pieces a little bit differently if you want to. Let's start here with this one. So this one is our hanging pumpkins. We just use the die to do that. So we're going to fold that up the middle on the middle fold. Okay. And then my suggestion is just leave it hinged together like this. I've got it back folded, you know, so I've got pumpkins on both sides. And then just grab your trimmer. And what you're looking to do is just take a smidge off, okay? So how much is a smidge? Well, I've got this little Fiskars trimmer, right? And my favorite smidge mark is basically where it goes from clear to in the, you know, the gray. And that looks to be... it's probably 1/8 of an inch, but it may be just a little bit less, you know. So what you can do is you can put the fold line. Actually, we could do the fold last if we wanted to, because that would hold it together. So we should be able to do these at the same time. Okay. Well, I'm not, because then what if it gets a little off and then it's crooked on the bottom one? I don't want to do that. Okay, but I'm going to put the fold, because I have to cut it on the fold anyway, so I might as well just cut it a little smidge in. Okay. And if you've got a wire or something, you can see how big your smidge is. So your smidge is your border, right? So how much of a border do you want? That's really and then just be consistent. Okay, so there's my smidge. All right, so now you just have to remember which ones you've already done. So let's see, I've done the right side. So I'm going to turn it one, go to my smidge, turn it again, go to my smidge, turn it the third time, go to my smidge. All right, there's number one. Okay. See, that's just going to line up with the inside edge and then just give me a nice little border all the way around. All right, so we've already done this edge here. Okay, so I'm going to put my next one. Okay, yeah, I can tell it's this side. I'm rotating the opposite direction now. Let's see. And then this way. All right, there's my number 2. Now, it's up to you. It looks to me, if you want it to exactly match mine, like I used this one that had the orange pumpkin at the bottom in slot 1, and I used this one with the white pumpkin at the bottom in slot 3. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. To your liking. But that's what I did. Okay? But let's just do the rest of the cutting, and then we'll get to gluing. Okay? All right, so we've got those. Now, we've got this one. The gray one is going to be the pieces that go, well, especially on the center one, because then I didn't have to have you do your paper upside down or whatever, you know what I mean? Like the actual cutting of the paper didn't have to be upside down to fit this. So I just wanted it to be a solid, or on the back we can use the one that's like the black and white check, because it doesn't matter, it doesn't have an up or a down, but we wouldn't want to do the hanging pumpkins on this page because obviously the pumpkins would be upside down. So, okay, so I'm going to fold, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm doing the exact same thing. So I'm going to put the fold line on my smidge. So smidge for me is a little less than 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to take that off. Go around the horn on this one. Okay, that one's going to go here. Okay, and this one I can tell I did this side, so I'll just go around. Okay, here we go. Okay, so that one's for the back. So I'm going to just set that to the side here. Okay, and then we have 2 more to do. Okay, so those of you who watched the prep work video, when I demonstrated just cutting half of the piece, you know, we went a little bit over the fold line. So we just went ahead and found that fold line at the time that we cut it, so that it would be real easy to see on class day. So again, I'm going to start with that side, putting that on my smidge line. Okay, get rid of that, and then around the horn. Just can't get over how cool these papers are from Graphic 45. Like, I'm so impressed with the artistry of people. It's just amazing. All right, that one's for the back. Okay, and then one more. I think one of these is going to be the, yeah, this one's going to be the black and white side up. So black and gray. I really shouldn't say it's white. It's not white. It's black and gray. So sometimes, I don't know, sometimes you might like to cut into the side you want to keep. Just because sometimes with the trimmers, like the edges just look a little nicer if you cut this, kind of like die cutting, you know, where you cut into the side you want to keep. All right, okay, here we go, here we go, here we go. Got tons of these. All right, so let's just start gluing these on now. So your lineup is going to be your inner square. That one doesn't have a border, it's going to go right to the edge. And since these were cut with the exact same die, it's going to fit just perfectly. Okay, so your inside edge is your best lineup spot. I'm gonna move this out of the way so I can pick this up. Put my finger, and then sometimes I just turn around and see how well I'm doing. Getting that inner lined up. Yep, did that one well. And this one's gonna be great. Oh, this is my chance to add my stripe, my decorative stripe, which is where Karen, where? Here it is. So during prep work, this measurement ended up being like right where my trimmer didn't have a measurement, so I was having to guess. And so I said during prep work, well, okay, I'll cut this one a little long. And then when I got to this page, I forgot to glue it on first. If I glue it on first, then I can use the page to trim it back. So I'm going to learn on this one and put that on first. So that one's just a decorative stripe to kind of break up some of this big wide portion of gray, so just wherever you want it as far as top and bottom. And then I'm going to turn that over and trim that back. Okay, and then this one's going to go on here. Now, with our virtual classes, they're pre-recorded YouTube videos, and it's really just me, you know, obviously on this recording. And so we make these class day recordings public, and that way anybody can come watch the techniques and learn them. But what we have behind the paywall is going to be your prep work, you know, all your, obviously your materials, you get that with your kit, but the instructions, the PDF instructions and the prep work video, those are exclusive to the kit holders. And like I said, you might still be able to get a kit depending on when you're watching this video. But you are able to watch the class day video. So if this is something that, you know, you wanted to try with your own materials and, you know, you can kind of figure out the measurements and things like that by just looking at it, then you could certainly give this one a try. And we do that, you know, to give people an opportunity to see what our class program is like, you know, kind of a little bit of a try before you buy. And we do these virtual classes, the ones that are on YouTube usually out of a 3-month series of classes, 2 of them will be Zoom classes and 1 will be virtual. And this one's considered virtual. Okay, now, what's the difference? The only difference is class day. So our Zoom classes are identical to this program, except for this video today would be a Zoom session that the students could log in. They're live with me in the room. They can stop me and ask me questions. And we can highlight those students on the video to help them, right? So I can highlight them and say, okay, well, show me your project. Okay, well, I need you to flip that page over, or that one's folded as a valley and needs to be a mountain, whatever. So because of that, because the students end up on the recordings, we don't ever make Zoom class day videos public, even if the kits all sell out. So as you're kind of checking out our class program, if you find a Zoom class that you're interested in, my suggestion is go ahead and buy a kit for that Zoom class. Join us on the Zoom. It is recorded for the students who can't make the class, but it's only the students that get that recording. So I'm just letting you know. Now, these class day videos for virtual classes, those are public, but the Zoom ones never are. So just giving you that advice. All right, what I did here is I flipped this over. So do make sure that when you flip this over, that you are flipping it like a book, right? That you're not doing it like this, because then you could end up with things that are upside down. So we're flipping it like a book, turning it like a book. Okay, you've got your piece that you already put on, should be over here on the left. Okay, then we're going to do our gray piece here. Okay, just like we did on the front. Now this is going to cover up that hinge, so it'll, you know, make that hinge kind of disappear. Which way is forward? Do I care? I'll do it this way. Yeah, but I teach every single month, and either on Zoom or with one of these virtual classes. When we have a new release, we will feature our new release in the classes. But when we're in between releases, then we'll do a class with what we call our favorite dies. In this month and November, our favorite dies, meaning that they're dies from previous releases, but combined in new ways, right? So you think about the 4 required dies for this class, the tree and the charm accordion, those came out in 2017. Those were part of our very, very first release of 12 dies, were the tree and the charm accordion. But then, you know, it's 200 and some odd dies later before we have that skeleton and bat and that witch and cauldron. So the favorite dies months are a great chance for me to start combining dies that were released at different times. And that makes it fun, because people that are kind of collectors of the brand, then they get it, you know, that nothing's ever old. You know what I mean? So we'll go back and reference, like I said, 2 of the dies in this month's class were released in 2017. So we try not to retire dies. We try to just come with new ideas with them, maybe a new add-ons, you know, maybe a new stamp set or something that's going to give it a new look. So that's the goal. Timeless. So you can feel confident that if you invest in our die sets, we're not going to leave you without ideas. That's for sure. Definitely won't leave you without ideas. All right, let's see. Let's get this piece on. Again, just looking at that inside rounded square edge there. All right. That's just the back. Okay, you know what? Actually, you know what? I wonder if while we're on the back, we should. Well, we'll do it afterwards. Okay, let's flip it back to the front. We'll keep going in the proper order of things, so to speak. Okay, so one thing about the charm accordion is that it is the little charm frame that connects the pivoting squares. Okay, so we'll end up adding a charm frame over here that will connect these 2 squares together. And then we will add a charm frame back here that will connect these 2 squares together. And then that's what makes it so that it'll pivot in opposite directions. But one nice thing about this, this die is that you still can flatten it. So as you see, even after I've connected those charm frames, I'm going to be able to completely flatten this. So that's kind of a nice thing when you're, sometimes, you know, it's really nice to be able to kind of see how things are coming together as you go, not have to do all of the decorating, you know, before you put it in its final popped up position. So that's just something to know about this die set. All right, let's see. What shall we do next? Let's add our decorator squares to the front, but we won't put them on the back, because when we attach the tabs, you know, it could be, it looks like it just comes up to the edge, but it could be that the square might overlap that tab just a little bit. So we don't want to put any squares on the back. We'll only put the squares on the front. We really made great use of the pattern paper this month. We just, you know, took those decorator dies and we just cut out some of the icons out of the paper to decorate the accordion. So that was a fun thing to do. So we have all of these squares. And let me tell you which ones I used. So I used this one with flowers in it. That's the one I used here. Okay, I used the pumpkin that's wearing the witch hat. I put that one here. And then I put the candle that has the red wax That's the one I put here. I did not use any ink on the edges of those. You can if you want to. It's completely up to you. And we're going to glue those down. So while I'm doing that, let me tell you, with accordion dies, people, probably one of the biggest questions I get all the time is what weight cardstock should I use for these pop-ups? And the frustrating answer is it really depends, right? Some dies really like a nice stiff cardstock, and by that I mean something like even 100 pounds. Some of them really like 100 pound, and I would generally say the accordions, like, you like the accordion to be, just kind of a stiff and solid page so that it'll stand on the table really nicely for a display and then it's not bowing and things like that. But the thing is, it just sort of depends on how you're decorating it, right? Because if you're going to add pattern paper front and back like we're doing here, then it doesn't have to be the stiffest cardstock because you're going to be adding to the structure of it with your decorator pieces. So at that point, my rule of thumb is, especially with the accordions, is if I'm just trying to match up, in other words, if I know I'm going to decorate everything, then I just try to find the color that I want. And would I like that to be at least 80-pound cardstock? Yes, I would. So this Phantom Gray is an 80-pound cardstock. But if it was the absolute perfect color and it was only available in 65-pound and I knew I was going to be adding panels all over it anyway, I'd probably try it. So you don't have to have the stiffest cardstock for it if you're planning on decorating it, and adding all those pieces anyway. All right, now let's get into some of our greetings here. So we started doing just greeting stamps to kind of accompany our dies. We are really a die cutting company. I would say that's really what we are, but we also offer just greeting stamps, little 3x4 greeting stamps that go nicely with our die sets. And the idea of those is to be able to fill in some phrases that would be difficult to do, in a big die set or whatever. And, then we can make them so that they really fit the dies that we offer. So we have a new set for Halloween here. And it, I'm always thinking about the dies when I'm doing the phrases, right? So what's brew with you? I knew it was going to work great with the witch and cauldron, and I wanted it to be sized so that it would fit on the witch and cauldron. So things like that. And then the only stamp set that we have that's actually not greetings is a new one we have called Fun Faces 2. Fun Faces 1, sorry, I'm really ahead of myself here. So this one is actually all of the stencil feature faces for our animals and character dies to give you another option. So you can always stencil the die to put the face on, but we're using the witch and the skeleton in this class. And so it just gives you an option where you could stamp the face and then die cut it out by looking down through the stencil feature and lining up the line. So it's just an option. So these were not required in class. Anytime that we use a stamp set for our greetings, or in this case is for our faces, then those are like pre-prints in your kit. And then you just have to, use the dies to cut them out. So we did that during prep work. So you already have, your greetings onto the pieces because you die cut them or trimmer cut them during prep work. And then what we're going to do here for October 31st, it's up to you. What I did is I did a combination of rusty hinge and then black soot on the edges so that it would have just a little bit of, that brown and then black right on the edges. So I was a little bit more generous with the brown so that it would bleed in a little bit. So there's the rusty hinge, okay, and then I took the black soot and stuck it kind of just on the edge. Okay, so then that one is going to go here in this center page. Okay. Oh, you know what? It looks like I did. I maybe actually, I can see right there on that one. I feel like maybe I did actually add a little bit of ink, but okay. I think it looks fine the way it is. Okay. What are we going to do next? Let's work on our charms. Let's work on our charm frames because then we can kind of get that put together and All right, so charm frames. So this is one of the dies that's in the charm accordion. So it has score lines next to the tabs, okay? The 2 tabs on the sides. And then it has a fold line right up the middle. So it's going to go right up the middle and through the middle of that hole, okay? So it's going to end up something like this, where it's got for this first one anyway, it's got a mountain in the middle, and then the tabs are going to be valley folds. So this is how it's going to end up. Okay. Now, before we attach that to the project, we're going to dangle our little frog leg charm that we're going to make out of it. Okay, so let's look at this one on the back here. So this one's going to have our spider charm that we haven't made yet. Okay, so this one is essentially going to be kind of like all valleys. So valley, valley, valley. Because we always want to attach the tabs to the back of the project, you know what I mean? So but this one's going to collapse to the back. So if you think about it this way, it's going to be valley, 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 and it's going to be connected back here between these 2 squares once we get the spider put in it. Okay. All right. So now we've got that. All right. So in the Witch and Cauldron set, there are all sorts of little things that can go in her brew. So let me see if I find the packaging for the Witch and Cauldron. I'm known for just burying my dies on the thing here. So see, you've got all sorts of things. You've got eyeballs and bones and frogs' legs and spiders to go in that brew. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use the 2 frog legs and the spiders to make little charms. Now, since we want to dangle them, we need charm holes for them. So what I had you do is I had you cut the little star out of the gray cardstock. That is for the frog's legs, because we're going to ink those. And then the black charm is for the spiders. All right. So actually, let's just start with the spiders. We'll start with the spiders so you get the idea here. All right. We're going to make a spider charm. Now, let me see if my spider is hanging. Okay, he's hanging head down. Okay. So I basically need to leave enough of the star attached to the hole at the top just to hold my spider on. Let's see if I can get that to focus. Let's see here. I'll put these aside for a second. I'm just going to stick with... Okay, that looks like it focused. All right, so then, let's see if I can do this in the air here. If I just add glue... Nope, can't do it in the air. Thought I could. Okay, if I add glue just to that bottom section, and then I put the rear end of the spider into it. I think I just put that spider upside down. I sure did. You know what? I'm going to use this one. Okay. All right, so now I basically made a charm out of the spider. But because it might flip around, I don't want the back to be unsightly. So I'm going to glue the other spider to the back and just line everything up. Which, I mean, might be the hardest part of class today. You almost could do just the body and not the legs if you wanted to, but... just do your best. Take a little bit of adhesive off. Okay, so now I'm on the back. Gonna line up those legs. Okay. Almost. Okay, I've got 6 of them. 7, 8. Okay, did it. Pretty good. Kind of impressed. Impressed with how that turned out. Okay, so there's my spider charm. So the charm accordion, which like I said, came out in 2017, comes with a die that will cut 4 little spiral pieces that are charm rings, okay? And you can use these paper jump rings in lieu of you know, attaching your charms with metal jump rings or twine or brads or whatever. We now have a set of charm rings, a separate die that you can get, and I changed the design of these, so instead of a spiral, they're a hinge. Okay, so those new charm rings make it a little bit easier to seal them because you can come back in and seal them. These ones, you can still seal them, but you have to kind of push, the ends until they line up over the top of each other. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So we're going to dangle that spider through that hole of that charm frame. So I just have to get the spiral ring through it. Okay, then I just have to put the spider on. All right, so now I've got my dangling spider, okay? And then what I would suggest is add a little bit of glue. Let's see what I can do for being able to see what I'm doing here. Nope. Okay, so what we want to do is we want a little dot of glue at the end here, and then we're going to stretch the other end into it so that we're sealing it essentially. Kind of mash those together. I'll get mine together and then I'll show you. Oops. Did it seal? Can't tell what I did there. Oh, I flipped it. Oh, sorry. Got mine backwards. There we go. Okay, there we. I got it. So easy. So easy. Okay, so essentially, I just glued the ends of the rings together, and mine just came apart. Let me do that again. Okay. Sorry. See, this is the whole thing where I said I don't edit it. You just have to see me make mistakes. Okay, a little bit of glue on the end. Push the other end into it. I know I got it this time. There. Okay, so now he's dangling and he's not going to come out. So when I first did those charm, those little spiral charm rings in the original release back in 2017 with the charm accordion, I thought there was enough overlap, and there should be, for it to not really need to be sealed. And I think if you were just like sending it to a person and they were just going to display it, it would be fine. But what I found with, samples that I would take to events where I would, they would just get handled and opened and tossed back into the bin and all that kind of stuff, that I was starting to lose charms out of the charm ring because it was, because it didn't seal, it just overlapped like this. So now I suggest with the charm accordion that you just bring them to where you can seal the ends with glue so that they can't fall off of there. But that is different than the original. If you go watch the assembly video on the charm accordion, I don't say that you have to seal the rings. I don't think. All right, so there's our charm frame for the back here. So where that's going to go, if we turn this like a book, okay, we are going to use that charm frame to connect these two pages together back behind the piece. All right, and it's just going to be these little tabs that get the adhesive. So we can actually go ahead and do that now. Once again, I'm going to see if I can find something to put underneath there. I wish I had one of these that was a little smaller, but let's see. What if I fold it? Trying to get where it's easier for people to see. Okay, so what I want is I want this tab attached over here and this tab attached over here. Okay, in that flat position. So don't pin your spider down in that process. So there's adhesive on the two tabs. This one's going to go over here. This one's going to go over here. Oops. You got to be able to bend between the frame and the square, so don't overlap the fold to the edge of the square. Show what I mean. Okay, I've got to be able to bend that tab there and there. So let's see if I've done a good job. If I just fold right here and pivot those squares. Okay. Now that's bridged it right there. back behind the piece. Okay. I'm not going to do completely all the folding yet because I want to get this one on first. All right, so you know what? I can do that same thing. Except for I haven't made it yet, so let me just set that aside. Forgot that. We have to make our frog legs. Okay, so frog legs. Let's get out our frog legs. Now these we decided just to make into a sticker. Okay, so that'll make it really easy on attaching to the star thing. Star frame. Okay, so I'm going to use some green ink. So I've got green ink here on the star. I just need the top. I'll hit that front and back. Okay, because I'm going to cut most of the star away anyway. Okay, then our cute little frog legs that are already stickers. They were just cut out of the, I think they're light gray. So I'm just going to hit those, some of that green ink. Because we use double-sided adhesive on the back, then it's picking up kind of the freckles on the legs of the frog. Normally you would have to go back with an embossing sandwich to be able to see those, but because we use the double-sided adhesive tape, you kind of get the emboss for free. Okay. So once again, we want to trim probably everything. Probably just keep one little triangle of that star. And then let me look here, remind myself where I put the, because you know where you put the hole is how it's going to dangle. So it looks to me like I had the frog leg dangling like kind of this. Let's see, I'll put it on there and show you. All right, so if I put, see, I put the leg so that the charm hole was kind of in line with the frog leg coming out this way. Okay, I mean, if you change it, it'll just change the way it hangs on your project. So maybe you have a different idea for that and it would be fine. All right, now if I flip that over, I can put the other one on there. Now that's got tape on it on both pieces, so I've got to be intentional to get the toes lined up before I really squish it together. Got it. Okay, so now I've got a little double-sided frog leg. And we're going to dangle that from the other charm using a charm ring again. So you should have 4 charm rings. You only need 2 of them for this project. Okay, so get that through the hole. Dangle the frog leg from it. Okay, and then a little bit of adhesive on the end of the spiral, and then just pull the other end up and pinch it into that adhesive. I did this one much faster, much faster than that first one. Okay, now it's sealed. There's my cute little frog leg charm. Okay, and then this is going to attach this side to this side. So let me flatten that back out. I want to go here over to here. Okay, so the adhesive goes on the tabs. Oops. Oh, goodness. Okay. Y'all. Okay. All right. Let's see. You're going to be difficult on me, are you? Okay. Let's see. You know, I'm going to start over again. Okay. He said I probably should have just done one side at a time. All right. That one in there, and that one stretches over there. Okay. So it does need to be flat for it to stretch properly, you know, from square to square. You can see everything's flat here, including this piece. So make sure you flatten it out so that you can get it over to the other side. All All right, so now we can make this thing start working. All right, so over here on this pumpkin, okay, it's gonna pivot this way, and you're gonna have to fold in between them as you're working on that pivot. So that one's gonna pivot this way, okay? This one's gonna pivot this way, and then it's gonna shoot through there. Okay, so you know what's probably easier is grab these two squares. Grab these two squares, kind of pivot everything to close it. All right, so that's the shape you're looking for. You're looking for, let me fix my little spider there. He's dangling appropriately. Okay. So whatever's happening here, you know, valley, mountain, this one would be mountain, valley. So it's the opposite. And probably the easiest way is to grab those squares to help train it. Okay. And then this one's going to come in like this. So in the closed position, it'll come down like this. Okay. And then in the open position, it'll be like this. And what's nice is that we still can flatten it right out for decorating or any additional decorating. Okay. Spider's being a little problematic back there. All right, we got this. We got this. We've done all the hard parts of this card. We are ready now to start working on our witch's brew and our other pieces. We can also add our decorator squares to the back. So let's do this. Flip it like a book. Okay. Flip it like a book. Okay, that way you don't end up with upside down pumpkins. And then you've got 3 more squares. This really is entirely up to you as to which one goes where. If you want it to match mine, I used white pumpkin over here. I used candle in the middle. And I used the black and orange pumpkin over here. Okay, and again, it can be flattened as needed, so. Now next month for November, our class will be Christmas themed, and it will be a Zoom class. So we are not offering kits on KarenBurniston.com for November. We've made that a store exclusive. But we are doing a light up card. So there'll be a Pear Blossom Press twinkle light in that class kit. You get a chance to make a light up card. And at the end of this class, I'll show you the projects and the required dies and stuff for November. But I know you can still get kits for November. So if you're interested in that. And like I said, I know it's a busy time of year. We do record the Zoom classes, and we will send the link out to paid students, but only to paid students. So you do have to be a kit holder to have access to the Zooms. All right, there's those. And while we're on the back here, now Trick or Treat, I just glued that on the back here. I didn't actually do any inking that I can see on the edges, but you could if you wanted to. Okay, and just, where it goes is up to you. There's no, that's just kind of a place to sign the card on the back. And then here on the front, we're going to use this Happy Halloween. And I did that same trick with the rusty hinge and then the black soot. That's what I used for inking the edges there. It's always black soot that does that to me. There's certain colors that the little foam things, like they shrink in. I don't know. I thought it was like, oh, I just have like a bum foam or whatever in that one, but I remember replacing it at one point, and then the one that I replaced it with did the same thing. See, this one kind of does it too. I'm not sure. People that use inks a lot more than me probably know why that happens, but I don't know why that happens. All right, I did not trim this down to fit that paper, but you know what? It's kind of nice that it goes all the way across. No, I think I am going to trim it to match the paper. So, looks to me like I have to take this much off. I'm just going to do that with my scissors. And just hit that edge with ink. So that one's going to be right here on the front. like I said, those greetings came off of that clear stamp set, the Halloween one. We did with that. Okay, all right. So I think we're completely done with the back of the card. So now we just need to flip it over and work on our witch scene, and that's going to be the final for this card. Then we'll move on. All right. So let's start with what's brew with you. So we that was, well, I say pre-stamped, but when we do class kits, I do let the kit makers actually print it for you, so that they don't have to do all of that pre-stamping. But if you get, we don't do digital stamps, but if you get that stamp set, I promise you it will stamp that nicely. It does stamp. These are wonderful photopolymer stamps. They stamp great. So what's brew with you? So what I did is I took my black soot, but I didn't add any ink to it, okay? And I came from the bottom here because I figured the legs could be darker black if I ended up feeling like I had too much ink. That was the best place to test it, you know? But that's fine. I'm getting like it's like if I had too much ink, I would go like rub the ink off on something else. But then I just went in a swirly pattern all the way around. Okay, just adding that color onto that cauldron without re-inking. So just, that would just make it gray. Now it's up to you. It's, you know, I mean, if you want it to be darker, you could add a little bit of ink or shading or however you want to do. Maybe just on the edges you want a little darker bits. Do that. So once you get it to the way you like it, then what we're going to fill that cauldron with is going to be some bubbles. Now, so the bubbles, I decided to make them green. Let me switch my thingy out here. Okay, so once again, I just went in a kind of swirl pattern to add the color to the cauldron bubbles. Okay, leave that out because I need more. And then that just glues up behind there so that the bubbles are coming up. Ooh! What was that noise? What was that noise? Someone, please don't take that and make like a meme or something of that noise, please. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, then what we did is we did some bubbles. So the bubbles, we had double-sided adhesive tape on the back. So those are stickers. And I'm just going to go ahead and do the inking now. And then once I get it in the card, then I can add my bubbles to the card. Okay, so while I have that green out, I think I will also do my witch hands and my witch face. Okay. So here's the example of, you know, using those fun faces. So what the fun faces do is it just, instead of doing the stencil feature, so the die has a stencil feature that's built in. Okay, so for the witch's face, that's eyes and a mouth. The nose is actually cut into the piece. What the fun faces adds is the ability for that witch to have like the black line on the nose because the stamp does that. And then she has some eyebrows. So it adds just a couple details if you like that look. All right, let's see. Got to try and hold her hands. Make them green. So I'll be teaching on a cruise in 2026, and the theme is Wicked. So we will probably be using this witch in some way on the cruise projects. I haven't designed them yet, but I imagine she's going to make an appearance. Okay, so we've got hands, we've got face. All right, so, all right, let's start putting this witch together. So for her, did I? Yes, okay, this is where I use the orange. All right, so I have a little bit of carved pumpkin here. Okay, so what I did is on her dress, I just hit the edges. Or you could use that rusty hinge. Okay. I did the edges of her sleeves as well. Where's our other sleeve? Oh no. Oh, my poor little witchy is missing a sleeve. I bet it stuck to me at some point. Oh, there it is. Found it. Found it. Okay. So what we can do with the sleeves is we can just glue a hand to each one. Okay, so adhesive on the wrist, and then glue the sleeve on. Okay. Okay, so we're just going to get our pieces together because you sort of want to assemble her, you know, where you can kind of do one piece and then the other. So here's her little shoes. We used the packing tape on that and on her hat. Oh yes, so I did mention during prep work. During prep work, I had you add the buckle to the hat band so that it would be ready to go. It does not look like I inked that, but I will say gluing that onto the shiny hat, you're going to have to let that set for a second. So I think if you had something like a quilting clip or a chip clip or anything like that where you could clip that into position while that glue set up, that would be great. Okay, and we're going to have a little bit of an issue with the dress over the shoes as well, but the shoes are going to glue right to the thing, so you know it doesn't really match. In fact, what we can probably do is just use a dry adhesive. So why don't we do that? Just use something like a tape runner or a bit of tape or something. You could hit the bottom edge of that dress, and that should pick up those shoes easier than doing glue. Okay, and you can do those at whatever kind of cute angle you want. And once we get it onto the card, we'll just glue the shoes down, you know. So it does. This is only kind of temporary that it has to hold on there while we're just kind of making her, getting her put together. Okay. For her hair, let me get back out that one that I was using the dark color on. So we made that one into a sticker as well so that we would get some of the raised areas from the emboss feature. So I did kind of the same thing that I did with the Cauldron, which is I just used my black soot without re-inking it so that it would just pick up those details. Can I see them there? That are built into that die that we basically got without having to switch to an embossing sandwich because we used the double-sided adhesive tape. So what you do is you just put her head down over the hair, kind of wherever you want it to go. The adhesive can go here at whatever angle, you know, you like. Maybe something like this. She's going to be wearing a hat, so don't worry so much about she doesn't have any bangs or anything. She's wearing a hat. Oops. Boy, this is really stuck down. Okay, and where's my hat? All right, my buckle has set up, so now I just need some glue across the top of her head for her hat. Again, at whatever angle you like. Okay, then her shoes just came off. All right, well, we'll just take care of that when we go to put it on the card. So I'm going to have her kind of tilted up like that. And I just use the hair is already sticky. So I just use the hair to stick it to the body. Okay. And then she's going to have a hand coming up like this, like she's adding stuff to the brew. So I'll just use the hair to hold that on. And then she's going to have a hand coming down maybe like this. You can change her pose. That's just completely up to you. It doesn't have to match mine. Okay, maybe a little bit angled in there. Okay, so see how she's coming together. All right, where's my What's Brew with you? Okay, so yeah. Okay, let's see. Let me try that again with my dry adhesive in my shoes just so I can get the angle that I like. Okay, something like this. Alrighty. And then now we can just kind of make our little scene here. So if we've got What's Brew with You, maybe over here to the right, you got to make sure that she stays out of the fold. So maybe, yeah, just barely. I might have to move that hand just a bit inward. Okay, I think I got her. I think I got her. All right, so let's just glue What's Brew with You down. Okay, I'm going to keep that pretty close to the right-hand side here so that I have plenty of room for my witch. I'm going to go even further. Okay, then she's going to set in there like this. I just have to make sure that she stays out of the fold. So she can come up to the fold, but she can't cross the fold. Okay, there she is. Cute, cute, cute little lady. Okay, and then we just have cauldron bubbles. So I'm going to put one here. And it looks like I put one up here in the sky, over here, and then for my last one, just kind of on the edge of the brew right there. Okay, so here, 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 and here is where I put them. You can put them wherever you like. And there she is. Okay, that is card 1. So again, if you've gotten flattened and you need to train it again, you can grab, if you want to, the inner squares to make sure that they're pivoting so that that pumpkin comes around and becomes the front decoration. I kind of like that the spider sticks out on the side. I would just use an A2 size envelope to mail this. It's not going to be over 1/4 of an inch. It'll be close, but it's rigid. So, but there's also room in the envelope. So, you know, maybe it goes for a single stamp if you're in the States, but maybe you want to put that extra ounce stamp on it just to be, you know, safe. All right. That is card number 1. All right. I'm going to clean up my area and we're going on card number 2. Nope, I'm wrong. I forgot. I'm like looking at my thing. So I go, wait, no, there's a broom. We didn't put the broom on. I'm back. All right, hang on. Let's put the broom. I put the broom right here. I just thought that kind of was a cool spot for it. So on this one, it needs a little rusty hinge. Oh, now I can't tell which is which. Those are so similar. Okay, a little rusty hinge on the broom. It's funny too because like I almost forgot to put the broom in the instructions too. I don't know, for whatever reason I just wasn't seeing it on the thing. Oh, it looks like I put just a little black soot along the bottom too, just to kind of make it a little spookier. All right, then I just glued that to the broomstick. You can also make that witch flying, so she can fly on the broom. There's instructions on the, I think in the, well, there's a picture right here that you can see. But you can combine it like that. I can't remember which project I did that showed that, so. All right, so that broom is going to go right here on page 2 or wherever you would like it to go. Okay. All right, do I have all the pieces used? Yes, I have. Okay, now back to, now we're done with card number 1. Okay, everyone, I am back with card 2. So card 2 is going to be our card assembly of the charm accordion, and we're now going to start mixing in the skeleton and the tree, the other 2 dies that we haven't used yet. So the same tools, basically. I don't think you need your trimmer, but you are going to add some red ink to the mix. So I'm sticking with my orange, my card pumpkin, my black soot, and then I added barn door. For a little bit of red around those eyeballs. And then, sorry to say, you do have to do a little bit of work with your craft knife, okay, because we have to cut a slot into that tree. So just a little bit of craft knife work, we'll get it done right at the top, and then you'll be smooth sailing. Okay, let's dive in here, and I'm going to turn off my face once again. I find that very distracting. Okay. So, let me dump everything out once again. Good idea to have a tray or something to hold those pieces together. Or, not together, but you know what I mean. Well, I guess together. Yeah. All right, let's get out our card. So, for this one, the card, remind myself what size card we did on this one. 1, 2, 3, 4.5 by 6, I think. Yeah, 4.5 by 6. So we'll use an A7 envelope for mailing that. All right, and so my concept here for this one was to use that really cool paper from Graphic 45 and to have basically the paper create kind of a cool scenery in the background for our charm accordion card assembly. So you can kind of see through everything, you know, the tombstones and everything in the background. All right, so the first thing we need to do is glue those 2 pieces of paper inside the card. What I would do is I would come up close to the fold. So don't leave much of a gap at all, just come close to the fold on both sides. I mean, you know, don't cover the fold because you want it to be able to open and close really easily. But what I'm saying is, you know, get close to that fold. And then I just centered it top to bottom. Okay, so here's the first one, and then this one. You know, I said you wouldn't need your trimmer, but technically I did trim the pieces for the front and the back just a little bit less wide because they're 6 inches wide and this is a 6-inch wide card. So my apologies, you probably will need your trimmer. We're not there yet, but when we get to doing this, see how I just took a smidge off so that it would give you a little bit of a border on the side. So forgot that. I did need my trimmer for that. All right, so here's what we've got for the background of our card. And then we can go ahead and add the piece on the right-hand side. We cannot put the piece on the left-hand side because it's going to go over the top of the accordion. So when you're looking through your pieces, you should have a piece of pattern paper, this one, that can go over here. But this one, we're going to hold on to it. We're not going to put it on yet until we get our accordion put in. Okay, so let's put this on. And what I did is I just basically centered it in the remaining space. So I had a little bit of a border all the way around. That's what I did with that piece. All right, well, okay, we've done the easy parts. Now we got to get into that tree. All right, so you're going to need 2 of your trees. All right, so what we want to do is we want to make this a 3D tree. Now, you might say, well, what if I just cut a slot from the top and then a slot for the bottom? Yeah, I mean, that would do it, but it doesn't hold together as nicely as if you do notches top and bottom and a slot. So that's what you need the craft knife for. So my suggestion is start with the one that you need notches for, okay? So here's what, you know what, I'm going to grab a pencil. Hang on one second. Okay, sorry, the pencil was on the other side of the room. All right, so I'm going to draw with a pencil here. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw, okay, I'm going to say about, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch or so, something like that. And I just in the center of one tree. All right, and then what I want to do with my scissors is I want to cut that. I'll go on each side of the little pencil mark so that I'm making actually a little notch, okay? So on either side of the pencil line, basically, see that? But then go ahead and trim off the bit. Don't just fold it, actually trim it off. But that was just to show. Okay, so you end up with an actual little notch at the bottom of your tree. You know, 1/8 of an inch or so. Okay, then we're gonna do the same from the top. Okay, so cut both sides, or cut on both sides of your pencil line. Okay. Now you've got notches on this tree. All right, then we're going to lay that right over the top of another tree. Okay. And you're going to take your pencil, okay, and mark the upper edge of the notch at the top and the bottom, because that'll tell you how long you need to make your slot. Okay. So you can see it. What do we need to get to make that focus? Let's put it on a piece of paper. You see the little pencil line right there and right there. Okay. So essentially, if I took my pencil and I connected those two, that's the length of my slot. Okay, and once again, I could just do it where I cut on either side of that pencil line until I get a little slot. Now, you can use a ruler if you want to make it straight, you know, or if you've got a steady hand, you could just use, you know, your craft knife. What I suggest is just make a light cut at first. So don't try to get all the way through the tree with your first cut. Just do a lighter cut, and then go over it again until you've got both sides. Okay, then I'm going to go on the other side of my pencil line. Again, I'm going to do it a couple times. Okay, then I just have to connect the outside to remove the slot. And that is it. Okay, so there's a slot. We've got notches, so I should be able to see a little bit of slot. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want it to be too tight. So you want the slot to be a little bit taller than the notches. All right, now how are we going to get these together? Okay, surprisingly, you can do it. You can get, let's see, which way do we want to do it? Let's see if we try it this way. Let's see, I'm trying to remember which one I went through first. Okay, I think I may have done the right side. Okay, so if you're holding your slotted tree, oh no, actually I think I may have done the left. Okay, so I'm going to try the left side. So basically I need to get these four branches through that slot, okay? And what you can do is you can start with the one that's closest to the center, those two, get them started through the slot, and then just start rotating it, okay, as you go, and wiggling the next branch through. Okay, just keep rotating, and then you can wiggle the final branch through, and then you'll see that you can get that slotted tree into the notch at the top. But then at the bottom, of course, we can't push it through because it's too tall, so we have to temporarily just fold the tree next to the notch, and then we can slide it through and unfold it. Okay, and there you've got your little 3D tree. Okay, so that wasn't too bad. That's all you needed your craft knife for. Craft knife is done. Done for this class. Well, that's all we needed it for. Okay, let's do this. Let's get our charm accordion pieces out. So we did a lot of work during prep for this, okay? Because we had to do it in a very specific order. But as you're looking at these and placing them side by side, make sure the one that has the extra pop-up that we cut into it is towards the outside. So when you're deciding which way these go, extra pop-ups not towards the inside, extra pop-ups towards the outside, okay? All right. And what we're going to do is we're going to hinge those two pieces together, and this time we are going to use the little hinges that come in the charm accordion set. So the charm accordion will cut these little hinges, okay, and they have a score line up the middle. They have holes in them in case you want to make it decorative and put like brads through them or whatever. We're not going to do that. We're just going to glue them on. But what these hinges are going to be is they're going to be used to connect the two pieces together. Okay, just like we did on card one, but this time just top and bottom. And as far as how far up, I don't know, wherever you want, a quarter of an inch up, quarter of an inch down from the bottom, something like that. I would just be consistent. So the adhesive is going to go on that hinge. Get that about, I don't know, quarter of an inch up or down from the top and a quarter of an inch up from the bottom. something like that. Okay. And then we're going to use that to connect the other side. Okay, it's totally fine and probably even preferable for there to be a little bit of a gap between them. You can see that in my card here, there's a gap. Okay, so you don't have to try to get it to where there's no gap. It's totally fine that there's a little bit of a gap. All right, now, training this to fold, we kind of messed with it a little bit during prep work. That's why mine has some folds in it, but I'm going to assume I didn't because not everybody watches the prep work video. Okay, so what we did out here on this outer piece is during prep work, we scored and added a new fold line that was halfway up, you know, this thing, so that when you folded it over the top, it basically just came to the edge there. It completed the inside square. And then we put the little pop-up out of the tree pop-up, we die cut it right on that fold, so that when it's folded like this, we can actually grab that little extra pop-up and you can fold it over and give it a good pinch. Which way, towards the back or towards the front, doesn't matter. Okay, bring it back to where you started. Then when you open it to 90 degrees, you can pop it and it'll fold into the piece. Okay, don't worry about what this thing is doing. We'll figure that out later. All we're working on right now is this. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so we work the fold in the middle, then we grab that pop-up, we fold it over and give it a pinch. Okay, bring it back to where it started. Open this to 90 degrees and then just pop it. Pop it from the other side, and then when you close it, it'll pop into the piece. Okay, so this is going to be a mounted fold in between. This one's going to be a valley fold where we just hinged it. This one's going to be a mountain fold. Okay, and so then basically what we have is this pop-up that's going to go inside. We're not ready to put it in yet, okay? But when we do, it's going to do this. Now, we've got an extra bit because we want to have these inner squares, the ones that we carved out, we want to have those pivoting the opposite directions, okay? So we want this one to pivot this way. And if I grab the inside edge of this one, I want this one to pivot this way, all right? And what's going to join those two together is going to be that three-dimensional tree. So let's take a look here on the finished one. You can see that the back branches of the tree on each side is attached to that pivoting square, right? Okay, so how do we do that? I would do that in the flat position. So we're going to flatten this all the way back out. You've got your 3D tree. So if you look at it so it's pretty on the front, you know, because you've got the glimmer, so you're pretty on the front, it's these back two sets of branches that are going to glue here and here, okay? And what you want is you want the center of the tree right over the seam between the two halves, okay? Does it go all the way to the bottom? I mean, that's kind of up to you. I'm looking to see if I can tell. All right, here in the close position, you can see I'm a little bit up from the bottom. Can you see where that tree starts right there? So I'm a little bit up from the bottom, but I'm pretty close. I mean, when it sits on the table, I don't want the tree to look like it's floating, so it's pretty close to the bottom. So I'm gonna do it about, you know, to here or so. Okay, so what I can do is with that tree put together, lined up over the fold of the card, okay, what I could do, and maybe would be the easiest, would be to say, okay, I'm just going to lift up and add a little pencil line where my branches hit. Okay, so there's a branch there, there's a branch here, there's a branch here. Okay, I'm going to keep that in place. Go over to this side. Branch is going to hit right there, branch is going to hit right there, branch is going to hit right here. Okay, and then I take that off. Now look what I have. I have a little glue guide for where that glue can go. All right, so now I can put a little dot of glue on each of my pencil lines. Okay. Now, the goal is that it's just the back branches that are going to glue down. So that glue could squish and then it could try and kind of pick up some of your front branches. So as you do this, you're looking to have only the back branches from the, you know, on each side attaching to the glue. So what I would suggest is push it down, you know, so that it'll attach, but then pretty quickly, let's lift up and get the two trees separated from each other. I can see like this branch right here, it tried to glue both branches down, not just the back one. So let me see if I can get that one set. There it is, separated. So, okay, so as I close this, what I want to see is I want to see that tree coming into a 3D tree. So if it's stuck together, you know, if the front branches are stuck to the back branches, you need to get them separated so that as you close this, it's coming up into, I'm going to see if I can find look at the bat wings right there. See it? See the X that's created as you start to close this? Okay, so that's what you want to see. Okay, then we are going to connect, we need to connect these two squares, but back behind the pop-up. So back here, these two squares are going to connect, and then back here, these two squares are going to connect, and that's what we're going to use the other hinges for. So we cut 4 hinges. Now those hinges are going to be a little too wide, so let me show you probably the best way to do this. All right. Okay, so I'm going to, first thing you want to do is find the fold in the hinge, just right up the middle. Okay. Let me see. I want to decide, are we going to just, I think we'll just, I'm trying to decide if I want to get this all put together before we decorate this tree, but I think I do, because I did that. I know I did that in my original. I got it all put together before I added eyeballs to the tree, but I'm just kind of looking at it like, well, would it be easier? But I don't think it would be easier. I think it's still easier to do it afterwards. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing put together. Okay, so what do we have to do over here to get these to come together to where we can attach them? Well, okay, in the center, this is already working correctly, right? So as we close it, I'm going to put my hands back here. I'm going to help those squares pivot, okay? And here's my flat position in the center. Make sense? Okay, tree in the middle, pivoting squares, okay? Then here, this is going to go like, it's going to fold down like this, and that the back edge of this is going to end up sitting on top of that. Okay, let me see if I can get it. All right, let me explain that better. I think I did a very poor job. Okay, see here on this back piece, this square really doesn't pivot. It pretty much just stays mostly flat, even in the final card. It just kind of stays flat against the back of the card. All right, so it is going to be this right side that connects to this one here. And maybe, you know what, I'm going to do it differently. Why don't we do this? Take your hinge and put some adhesive close to the fold on just one side. Okay, and not all the way out to the edge, but close to the fold. All right, and then back here on this, so if you flatten this back out again, so this is not flipped over, it is in the way that it was die cut. It's just flat, flat, flat. Let's go ahead and add that hinge to that right hand side, okay? And it's just gluing to the back, okay? So see, it's going to hang off onto the inside, and that's fine. We're going to end up trimming that off. All right, that's the much better way to do it. I'm realizing as I go here. All right, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So this time the adhesive's going to go close to the fold, but on the right side, get this flat, okay? Tuck that under that square there so that it comes up to the fold. It doesn't cross it. Okay, now we've got that. Now, we can trim off the hinge part that extends into that square. Okay, same thing over here. We can trim off the hinge that extends into the square. Okay, now we've got the piece that we need to connect over here. Okay. But I really do think it would be better to do that in the flat position, okay? So I think once we have the hinge on, then it'll be easy because then you won't get it turned around. So let's get back to, let's go flat. Let's go flat. Okay, we're flat. Okay, make sure that's behind there. All right, now what I want to do is I want to pick it up and I want to start bending in the center here, and that should bring your tree forward. So you should be seeing these two squares are pivoting to the back, okay? Like that, all right? So if we keep going, that is the flat position of the center 2 pages. All right, now we just have to find the flat position of this page. So if I fold it down like this, where I can just see everything, okay, what I want is to fold on the center and bring this with me. Does that make sense? So don't let it pivot the other way. Bring this with me so that I'm grabbing both, folding it down into the flat position, okay? And now what you'll see is that hinge is lined up right next to the other one, where I'll be able to glue those together. Okay, so let me do that again. All right, start over again. I know you could just back it up as a YouTube video, but still, I'll just do it again. So now I understand the best way to teach it. Okay, let me get this out of the way. All right, so we're gonna fold in the center, okay, and we're gonna find the flat position of the center section of our accordion, okay? Now, we could fold this down all the way flat like this, right? And the hinge is on this side. Okay, but what we really wanna do is we wanna bend it in the center, okay, so that the hinge ends up over here. And then it's going to attach to that edge of that square behind there. Okay, so the adhesive would go right next to the fold, right? Then in that flat position, I'm just gonna wrap it. Make sure that you're only letting it wrap to the first square that you see, because there's two of them stacked on top of each other, right? So it's just the first one that's gonna attach to this one. Okay, and then now you've connected those squares in the back. You've got some extra hinge there, however you can find to get your scissors in there. Trim off that extra bit of hinge. Okay, so now we have the left side ready. So let's do the right side. Okay, so we fold the center. That gets us to the flat position. Okay, we can bend this whole page over, but my hinge is over here on this side and I need the hinge on the other side. So I'm gonna let it lift up. I'm gonna grab this right side and the square, fold them both on that center line. Okay, then that's gonna bring the hinge over here to the right to where I can use it to attach to the other pivoting square. Okay, so the adhesive on the underside of the hinge, up next to the fold in this flat position, just attach it to that other pivoting square. And what I like about doing this in this flat position is you know it's going to fold down flat then, right? Because you've basically attached everything in the flat position. However, you can get your scissors in then to trim off the excess bit of hinge. There you got it. There you have it. And look how generic that is. I mean, you know, you could probably use other things other than a tree even to create your 3D, you know, item in the front. So like if you think about a heart, you could do a heart, you know, for a Valentine's card. Or you could still use the tree and have this be like a wintry scene. Oh, that would be so pretty. Or fall, right? So this would be a really nice fall tree or a nice little Thanksgiving card. So look at the genericness of this thing that we have created, right? Amazing. Okay, so the way this is going to attach inside the card is just going to be everything on this side, and I'm not going to extend the adhesive into the part of the square that's going past that fold. So it's just going to be this flat section on both sides that's going to attach. And I did design it such that it's going to start at the edge of the pattern paper, okay? But you have to figure out which side of the pattern paper sticks out further in the card, because that's where you want to start your pop-up. So fold it closed, look inside there, oops, sorry, and see which side is the paper sticking a little bit further than the other side. For me, it's this left side. For you, it might be the right side, okay? Whichever side is sticking out furthest, that is the side that you want to start on the edge of and glue that side down, because over here, we're not going to just stick it down. We're going to fold it into that flat position, add adhesive, and close the card. So if this one's a little bit short on there, that's fine, because this will cover it, right? But vice versa, if I put it on the short side, then I'll end up with a little sliver of paper on the other side when I attach it in that flat position. So that's why you want to figure out, hopefully you did it really well and they're very, very close. Like mine are extremely close. Okay, but I can tell that the one that's sticking out just a little bit more is this left side. So that's the one that I'm going to glue down first. If yours is the right side, you're going to glue the right side down first. Okay, whichever side is furthest out for you. Okay, and it's just going to be this half panel back here. Okay, and you can go ahead and hit the pivoting square as well, but I would let this section lift up a little bit in the card. Okay, now I've got this glue on, so I'm going to just put that right to the edge of the pattern paper. Hopefully that's nice and straight. Hopefully you've put that on nice and straight. Okay, that's going to glue down. And then rather than just glue it down over here, because it might be off just a little bit and then it won't close right, let's go ahead and collapse it down into that flat position. Okay, and then we'll attach this side. Okay, so the adhesive is going to, you can lift it up a little bit to make sure that you're doing just the half. So basically stop when you get to the fold line, any of your adhesive. Okay, and again, keep that nice and flat, close the card, and pick it up. Okay, and then check and make sure it's not so crooked that it's just making your eyes twitch, because if it's just a little crooked, you can kind of pick it up and move it just a smidge, and there's enough play in that tree that it should be okay. You know, if it's way off, I don't know, y'all, but I mean, if it's just a little bit, you could probably move it. But see, I don't have like an even border right here, but I have a working pop-up, and that's like more important to me, that it folds up nice and flat, than it is that I have like the perfect border right there. For me, if that was something that was like, oh, I'm not gonna like that, you can either add another strip of your leftover paper and cover the seam because you don't like, you know, that it's not straight. Or you, like I said, you could pick it up and move it just a smidge and it'll probably be fine. I'm not gonna risk ruining my paper. So there you go. One cool pop-up. Now, if you've got branches sticking out, as I do, I'm gonna just do a little bit of pruning on that tree. Just a smidge. Just the branches that are sticking out to keep them in the card. Okay. It shouldn't be too many. Okay, but you can just prune that tree. It'll be fine. Oh, I love this card. I love this card. I love it. Love how it turned out. I was so happy with it. I was happy with the technique. I love those techniques in class where we're gonna. I can already picture, you know, this card design being done in other themes. I just think that's lovely. All right, over here on this left-hand side, now we can add the one that we did a little bit of fussy cutting on. Our piece with the rose and the skeleton hand. Okay, so for this one, I'm just gonna look to my outside edges. Okay, and let that overlap. Alrighty. Okay, we have another tree. Well, you know what? Let's make some eyeballs. Let's just start working on eyeballs because we need eyeballs for our trees. Okay, so those came out of the Witch and Cauldron set. So you cut 5 of them, and I had you do some stenciling with the die to add all the bloodshot lines during prep work. Okay. And then if you have some red ink, it kind of looks cool to have some red around the perimeter as well. Okay. And then what's going to go in the center is going to be those black circles that you cut. Okay. And then probably you're going to want to add a catch light. Let me make sure I've got a white gel pen that's working well. So you can just choose a spot and add a little spot of white. Let me get that close to the camera so you can see what a finished eyeball looks like. Okay, so, well, can we focus? Put something there, make it focus. Focus, focus. Well, I don't even know, y'all. Is that focusing? Is it my eyes or is it the camera? It doesn't feel like it's focusing. Maybe a little bit further away. Okay, well, that's what you're looking to do. And we're looking to make 5 of them. So 5 of the eyeballs that are brush some red around the perimeter. And then add those black circles. And the circles, we actually made them into stickers during prep work. So they should just stick right on there, and then add a catch light with your white pen. Okay, let me find the rest of these things. So we are very close. I don't want to jinx myself, but very close on the closing of our house in Texas. So a lovely family with 2 kids is going to move into our old house, and just in time for Halloween, where they can go trick-or-treating. And you know what's funny is there was like this little questionnaire, I think, that their realtor sent us that, you know, just things like, well, which one's the mailbox? And, you know, what day does the trash come? And just all sorts of things that they would need to know living there, moving into the neighborhood. And then it said, well, is there anything else that you want to tell the buyers, like any, you know, amenities that you like in the area or whatever like that? And one of the things I told them was how much candy they needed for Halloween, because I'm in a new house now. And I'm going to have to ask the neighbor, because I have no idea. I have no idea how many trick-or-treaters we can expect. And so that was one of the things that I told the new owners, is how much candy they need to buy for Halloween. It's like, you need this much candy for this neighborhood, because, you know, it's an important thing. Important thing to know. If you're well, I'm assuming y'all are Halloween celebrators because you're taking this class. So I guess I feel pretty safe saying that. I know not everyone celebrates Halloween, and maybe they don't. I don't really know that about that family, but if they do, they now know. All right, so we've got our eyeballs. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use 3 eyeballs on this center tree, and then we're gonna use 2 eyeballs on our extra tree, okay? So where the extra tree is going to go is it's going to attach over here on the left-hand side just to this pop-up, okay? And your best bet is to, you know what, let's go ahead and add our eyeballs for that tree first, okay? Because this one's easy to pinch them on, but this one might be a little harder. You get 2 eyeballs, unless you're making your own creative choices, which you're always welcome to do. And I will show you where I put my 2 eyeballs. I'm just going to follow my original. So I put an eyeball here. Oops, pick that up. Come on, Karen. So up here in that branch, and then kind of spanning over these 2 branches over here. So that's where I put my eyeballs. And then I did put 1 leaf in this tree. So we cut a bunch of leaves. We cut them out of different parts of the paper. So just pick one that you like. Maybe a little black ink around the edges. Give it some definition. Okay, and I put that 1 leaf on that tree. Just kind of hanging down right here. Okay. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to attach that tree to that pop-up. So where the adhesive needs to go is on the top of the pop-up out here at the end, like this. Trying to get that to focus. I don't know. All right, so what we want to do is we want to pinch that on there, and then we want to close the card and make sure it stays in, because we may have to move it further into the card. But I think this will fit with just maybe, yeah, this is fine. This is gonna, I've got plenty of room here for that tree. Okay, so I didn't have to trim any branches or anything. Okay, so you can see it's about half the trunk on the pop-up, and then that keeps it in the card really nicely. I didn't have to trim anything. Okay, and the eyeball basically is outside the pop-up right here, if that helps you. And these branches are sticking through, kind of through into the inner scene. And then what I did for this floating greeting is I used from the stamp set, the Sweets for My Creeps. I brushed the edges of that with orange. I think I did the orange and black thing. So I did orange around the perimeter, and then just a little bit of black. Okay. Now, what I want to do with Sweets for My Treats, Sweets for My Creeps, is I want to attach it to the branches of this tree, but I didn't want to do it ahead of time because I want to set it where it's going to be a nice visual angle. Okay, so it's going to be a little fiddly to get it in there, but basically if you can kind of put your finger in there where you can put pressure against it and add some adhesive to the branches of the tree, okay, to where you can float that greeting into the space. Okay, let me look and see. It looks like I'm gonna hit all 4 branches because it'll dry clear. If I don't need that much adhesive, it'll dry clear. Okay, so now I'm just gonna set that in there, attach it to the tree. Okay, I'm gonna raise it up and see if I like the location, if I can read it when the card is completely open. Is it straight enough for me? Do I want it maybe a little straighter? Yeah, I like that. So now that's just a floating greeting. So let me just check and make sure it doesn't get hung up on anything. And it is great. Sweets for My Creeps. Okay. My tree is being a little lethargic here. Oh, I see why. I absolutely see why. I kind of didn't go down far enough, did I? Look at how much tree trunk. I'm much further down on this one. I was like, why is my tree leaning backwards? You know what I'm going to do carefully? I'm going to just move it down. Just carefully peel that up. Okay, hopefully it doesn't make my Sweets for My Tree. But I could go at an angle if I need to. I'm going to put a little bit further up that tree trunk because I didn't like that it was leaning backwards. I wanted it to be a little bit more solid. So I'll do it a little bit more of the tree trunk on there. And a little bit further down. Oh yeah, I like that much better. Now I would like to move Sweets for My Creeps up a little bit though. Let's see if I can still do that. Yeah, I can. Okay. I mean, it's all just paper, y'all. Okay, all right. I'm liking it. Get a really good press. Okay, I like that way better. Okay, so I just moved my tree in a little bit so that it would just be more supported on the pop-up and down a bit. Earlier I had it pretty close where the bottom of the tree was on the pop-up. Now the other thing I could have done, you know, I've got a little bit of a snowy branch back here because I peeled that white up, which I'm deciding whether I want to try and get that thing off or if I just want to trim. Yeah, I'll mess with it later. I'll either go in there and try and scrape that paper off or I'll add another leaf, which is probably what I'll do is I'll just add another leaf. In fact, I'll just do that right now. I'll just add a leaf right there. But anyway, so I don't remember what I was saying. Perfect solution. Yeah, like it much better. Like it. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Your other option, if you did the same as me, and why would you? Of course you would, right? Because you were, unless you watched me do it first and then came back, and you were like, no, I'm not going to mess with it. I don't want to move it or whatever like that. If you needed to stiffen it, it's not like you couldn't cut another tree and kind of double it, like put another one behind there to make it a little bit stiffer if you felt like it needed it. But mine is working fine now that I've moved that down and in a little bit, just so it's just more supported on the pop-up. So you can see there, you can see the old location to the new location. Okay, and then your best way to put pressure against it is actually to close the card up so that you can really give it a good press. That flat position. All right, now eyeballs for this tree. I put them, you know, well, you can put them wherever you want, but I put one here in this kind of crook of this front tree right here. Pinch against your finger so that you can get good pressure. I put one, this one's up at the top of this tree. Okay, so I put one I might change my, well, I was trying to decide if I'm going to change my mind on that one. Well, you can put your eyeballs wherever you want. You have 3 eyeballs. Straight. Okay, and then I'm going to put one down here. I felt like I was pretty, I did a pretty good job of editing in that I only put 5 eyeballs on the tree, and I didn't just keep going, like filling it completely with eyeballs. So, okay, there's my eyeballs on the tree. And then it looks to me like I have 1, 2, 3 leaves. So there's one there, one kind of dangling right there, and one in the back. Okay, on that tree. You can always do what you want. Just have to be what I want. Okay. And I mean, the only reason that I pretty much just follow my original and I don't make new creative choices on class day is because the second original kind of needs to match the design for the handout and stuff like that. So I pretty much just follow it so that it matches the handout. But you guys don't have to. You can do as you please. Okay, and then one more leaf. I've got a good one. Back here in the back. So, okay. Yes. All right. That's good. Okay. Got my tree. Got my leaf. 3 leaves, 3 eyeballs on the center tree. 2 leaves. I'm sorry. 2 eyeballs, a leaf. Sweets for my creeps. I had to do an extra little leaf in there because of me moving the greeting. All right. Let's talk about skeletons. So the skeleton and bat set. That's where these next pieces are coming from. And it's the cute little skeleton does have a stencil feature to be able to do the face. But like I said, if you do have the Fun Faces 1 stamp set, it's new. Then you do have the option to stamp first and then cut it out with your die. It's going to look the same. The only thing is that, it's got the catch light in there for you with the stamp and, whatever. It's going to be about the same though. So there's some people prefer the stamping rather than the stenciling. All right, so they are each going to hold a little pumpkin pumpkin bucket. I guess we'll say that. So for one of them, it's gonna be his left on your right hand. So I'm gonna put a little adhesive behind his hand. Just kind of get it into position where I want it, because then when I glue it onto the card, I'll just glue everything down really well. Okay, so there's that. Where I put him, this is the full skeleton, is I just glued the right half of him onto the card and then let the left half kind of hang off. So when you're adding your glue, just maybe go up the spine and then stick to the side that has the pumpkin and just half his head. Okay, and then set him down there on there. And once again, if you get it started, you can close the card to give it a good press to really get good pressure against it. All right. Then my other skeleton, I tucked him behind the pop-up here. Now I think you're probably going to have to cut some of his legs off to, well, maybe not. No, actually it looks like it fits just fine. I thought maybe you would have to, but something like that. So, okay, so his legs are going to get the adhesive on the front since they're tucking behind. just have his hands come forward onto the front. Okay, something like this. Okay, once again, close it to give it a good pressure. And then his little ghoulish pumpkin bucket is just going to glue there so that it looks like he is holding it. Perfect. Perfect. Almost there. Almost there. This one's almost in the books too. Okay, so let's talk about bats. So what I had to do is I actually had to cut 4 bats so that we could glue them to double thick. Just because, I don't know, I just thought they looked better, double thick. So go ahead and glue your bat to another bat so that you have a double thick bat. And we're going to make 2 of them. Okay, so for his eyes, on that one I made them a little red, but I didn't think to do that during prep work. Let me see what would happen. Ooh, I have an idea. Okay, it's up to you. Up to you. Apparently during prep work I just had you do white or just black eyes, that just stenciled. But I'm looking at my original here and I see that I actually added a little bit of red in the middle, which is not going to show up really good on that since we should have like stenciled just the perimeter. So I'm going to give you a couple choices if you like the look of the red eyes. You could just freehand it. In other words, flip your oval over, glue it in there, put a little dot of red, and then go around it with a black pen. Okay, that's one option. Okay, another option would be get some white with your white gel pen in the middle of those black dots, and then maybe that'll be light enough to hold the red. Okay. Third option, grab your die if you have it handy and, stencil the back. You can just flip it over. You don't have to recut it. You just have to re-stencil it and just go around the perimeter with the black and then add a little red dot in the middle. So I'm going to see if this white gel pen idea is going to work. Okay, let me get a red pen here. Okay, let's see if I can get red in the middle. I stenciled. Okay, actually that's working. That is working. It's not as bright red as it would be if I did it, here I'll do one the other way. Okay, the other way would be, it's going to glue behind there like that. I could put some red in the middle and take my black pen around the red. Okay, so there's all your choices. That doesn't look bad either, actually. Either way, that'd be kind of cute. All right, I'm gonna do my red in the middle. Okay, so then these little ovals, they just glue, your best bet is your adhesive goes behind the eye sockets of your bat. So like this, okay? And then just push down and pick up the oval so that the eyes are in the middle, okay? Now, since we were using the Let's Fang Out as a greeting, I went ahead and just drew some little white triangles on the front of the bats for fangs. Totally optional, but if you like that look. Okay, these two have to glue. Oh, that one's glued. Oh, this one has to still have to glue to this. Okay. You know what? I'm just going to redo my... I kind of like the idea of the eyes being way back down in there. That one was not my double. So I'm going to redo my... I'm going to redo my fangs because this one's going to go over the top. I thought I had picked up the double, but I didn't. I picked up the single when I did that. Okay, so yeah, so little fangs for let's fang out. Cute, cute. Okay, this one. Glue around the eye socket. Down over the top of the oval, picking up the eyes. Okay, and then some fangs. Cute. All right, and then we've got Let's Fang Out. So for this one, I just used a little orange. Looks like I only used orange. I didn't do the orange and black, but it's up to you. Okay, so that's gonna go here. So you're just basically gonna take your 3 pieces now and kind of make your scene. This bat is gonna attach, so it's flying on the pop-up. Maybe I'll start there. Okay, so adhesive here on top of the pop-up. Okay. Gotta check and see if he stays in. He does. He's got plenty of room. Plenty of room. Okay. Then we've got Let's Fang Out. Like this. Okay, and then we've got a bat for up here. That will complete the inside of our card. Okay, so here's my little bat scene on the right side. I think that's everything. I think that's everything for the whole interior of the card. All right. So this paper was kind of insane that it just had these cool, like, full 4x6 greeting card, postcards in it. And I just didn't think that it needed very much else. Oh, I told you were done with your craft knife, but I lied, didn't I? Because we have to cut the edge of this. Look, I'm going to give you a choice. This is a great card front. You could just glue it on and be done. If you want to add the extra little bits of embellishment, you can do that, and I'll show you how I did that. But it does make just a nice card front on its own, so I leave it to you. All right, if you want it to match mine, you are going to need your craft knife again. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut on the edge of the pumpkin so that we can weave that green stripe through, okay? So how far down do we need to go? It looks like we need to do this whole first bulb of the pumpkin, okay? So from his hat to where the bulb is, and then you can check and see if your green strip can get through that, or if you need it to be wider. Okay, mine fits through. Okay, then on the other side, let's see, it looks like, you kind of have to make a visual line if you want it to be straight and say, okay, well, it's going to be around the edges of this black flower and then down the edge of the pumpkin a bit. Okay, so something like that, and then see if you can weave that strip through one side to the other all the way through. Okay, like that. So very optional, and as far as whether you stop it at the edge of the paper, or it looks like to me I stopped it and left the orange showing. So that would be on that side, and then on this side I would trim it to leave that orange showing. Something like this. Okay, and then I can just glue that down. Glue that down. Let's see how's best to do that. Probably just lift up some glue underneath it. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to make a witch hat, and we're going to dangle a little charm that a heart charm that we cut out of a section of the candle to make it look like the wax is dripping down the heart, you know. And I'm just using the orange ink on the side there. So, and what we're going to dangle these, or well, this one, the charm we're going to dangle it off of one of the little tiny green frames that was around the hinge. So when that die that was used to cut the hinge, it cuts that little green frame at the same time. So we're going to use one of the charm rings, and we're going to dangle that. This time you don't have to seal the charm ring because it's just decorative. You just have to get it, you know, into a position that you like, where the charm ring itself is kind of connecting the charm to the frame. So let's see, something like this perhaps. Yeah, I like it. Like that. Okay, now if I just hold that in place and add some adhesive around the back side of it. Okay, that's gonna go about here-ish. So kind of between the O and the Y when you're looking at the 2U, so a little bit away from the pumpkin. And now it looks like I put a leaf kind of on the edge there. All right, let me show you step one. All right, so I glued this down through a leaf there. Okay. Then over here, we're going to do a frame again. Now, no part of the witch's hat is going to go through the frame. So it's just going to sit on top. So you can kind of choose a location that you like. Let's see. Oh, I'm missing a hat band. Am I? Well, I've got my buckle, but I'm looking here. Oh, I see it. I see it. Okay. So the hat band, I'm going to go across there. Oops. Okay, and then we made the buckle into a sticker, so just right over the top. Okay, and then you can choose kind of the angle that you want that hat to be on that frame and actually attach it to the frame. Oops. Okay, so I've got it here. I mean, it's all going to get glued down to the card, so this is just about holding it in place until you get a chance to do that. But the reason, if you attach that to the frame first, then as you glue it down, you can stick some leaves in kind of underneath it, if that makes sense. So I'll show you what I mean. So underneath here, you know, I can put a leaf. Let me put that closer to the camera. So see, I can put a leaf down, and then that will go kind of over the top. So you can use the hat piece to kind of help you guide where you want your decorative leaves here. This one looks like it went like this. Okay, and then that over the top. Cute, cute, cute. Okay. All right, and then one last little leaf over here. Ooh, I've got several leaves left. Which one am I going to choose? I'm going to take this orange one. Okay, and that one I tucked it a little bit behind the pumpkin and sticking out onto that green. Okay. Does your card frame have to match mine? Absolutely not. Okay, so here's where you have to decide if you're going to shave just a little bit off or if you're just going to let it go end to end. You know, that's kind of up to you. It looks to me like I shaved just a little bit off. Now, that honestly, that's small of a cut. I would be tempted just to do it with my scissors and not get my trimmer out because it's hard to trim something that skinny, you know. And it doesn't have to be straight. I mean, the crazy thing is like if you look at this edge of black here, it's all like crooked anyway. So I don't think it matters if it's straight. Up to you on location here, whether you want to center it. What I thought would look nice, just to give actually a little bit of that glimmer showing, is to do an equal border on the upper 3 sides. So that's what I chose to do. Okay, so just looking at the upper edges. Okay, so I'm real close to the edge on this side, and this side. Okay. Cute. And then just for balance, I mean, it doesn't technically need it, but you know, I just like it when a card feels balanced, you know, like it feels the same weight on both sides. I went ahead and added that postcard to the back. And it could be the postcard side, or it could be the I put a spell on you. That is up to you. Once again, I leave it to you as to whether or not you want to trim a little bit off the sides, that you get a little bit of a border. And I am just going to do that with my scissors. Okay. And then once again, I just did it with the same border around the upper 3 sides. Okay, we did it. Card number 2. Okay, so that's 4.5 by 6. So you would use an A7, a 5 by 7 envelope for that, for mailing. Once again, you've got a little bit of a thickness. Well, I mean, it gets pretty, it's the rigidity. That's the thing that's going to make you want to use that extra ounce stamp, or maybe even the butterfly non-machinable stamp. It's not so much the thickness. I can get that down below 1/4 of an inch. It's that it doesn't bend very easily, you know. That's not really one that they love to put through their machines, you know. Okay, let me show you what we're doing in November. Okay, so before we get to our November class, I did, Ash and I went into the storage room and just started looking around to see if we could find some charm accordions and tree cards and stuff that we could just show. Just to show, I mean, you bought the dies, so just kind of wanted to show you some other things you could do. The tree pop-up is, you know, a lovely one just on its own. So it does come with a tire swing and a board swing. You can use it just for branches if you want. There's that just simple pop-up that comes in that set. You know, just a lovely, that's a lovely tree to have. Here's one I think Karen Aiken made, where she put the tree in. I like this idea. She actually made a wagon using board swings. So board swings for the wagon, the tree, or the tire swing for the wheels, and then she stuck her little squirrel in there. Super cute. And then for charm accordions, you know, here's one that Kelly made, and she's, sorry, they get a little beat up over the years, but this used to have a cute little flower charm hanging in it, and I'll have to fix it. But I just thought that it just makes such a cute little just 2-pager. Like if you see a little quick little thank you or pick me up card for someone, that charm accordion is such a great one, because that single page, you know, it's just a single cut, add your charm frame, dangle something. You got everything you need in the set. But then, you know, when you want to make the longer ones, you can hinge them together, make them as long as you want. This was one, let's see, I got a couple here. Here's one that I did as a staggered accordion, kind of a patriotic theme. And I can't remember if there's a video for that. I don't know if there's a video for this one. I think this was one that I just did. But, you know, hanging those little star charms and USA. This one, boy, this one's old. This one was made in 2017. As you can see, the hinges used there, little winter charms. Okay, I know there's a video for this one, because I remember it being, I think, a designer challenge card that I made, where I converted it in from a, you know, a rectangle accordion into just keeping the square, and then kind of gives it a little bit of a different look. And this one, I actually, instead of using the charm frame, I actually hinged it with ribbon. So there's ribbon going through it that hinges the small squares together. I can see that I lost a donut charm over the years. I know there's a video for this one, because this was part of a designer swap that we did with Darkroom Door many, many years ago. So they sent we sent some of our dies to their design team, and they sent some stamps to our design team, and we made projects. So this is the same idea with the staggered accordion, but then rather than putting the charm frame between the squares, I actually just covered it with a rectangle that I just used the hinge die on. And that just gave me more room for the stamps that I was trying to showcase. But that's kind of a fun idea as well, is to convert it from squares with charms into just rectangles. Whether you do them staggered or not, you could also just do them straight if you wanted to. So I know there's a video for that one too. This one was just kind of funny. I found it and I'm like, oh, I remember this. I had these, this is like really, really old. I don't even know, Tanya would have to say whether or not this stamp still exists, but this was a Riley & Company stamp that I loved. It said, roses are red, wine is also red, poems are hard, wine. So, and these were just like puff stickers that I just found in my stash that were just wine stickers that I used to decorate that. So, yeah, blast from the past when I found that one. Anyways, just some other ideas for using those dies that you already own. And then of course I guess we didn't find the Halloween one. So the skeleton and the witch and all that stuff. So those two. All right, let's talk about November. So November, hang on, pull off the printer here because I printed the die sheet. Your required dies for November, if you want to do this Zoom class, it's going to be favorite dies again, is you need to have our sleigh pop-up 1021. You need to have the holiday charms 1143. Gnome and Santa is 1129. And then our circle charm pop-up, which is 1046. Okay, and this is what we're going to make with those dies. Let me put this one, do the closure on this one first. Okay, so this one, the first one, card one, we're going to have cute little Santa peeking through a window onto the front of the card. It's got a fun little twine closure here. Okay, and then when it opens, that sleigh is going to pop up. Got Santa there. This one stands really nice too. That makes a nice little display card as well. And then using some of our other new stamps there. So may your heart sing as sleigh bells ring. We're going to fill up that sleigh. Make that kind of fun card. Okay, so that will be, and then we're using photoplay. Yeah, is that true? Yes, photoplay on the papers for November. Okay, then our card two, since we're using circle charm, but like we did with October, I like to do like a card assembly, show something different. So this one's going to be a card assembly of that circle charm. Sorry, with those charms in the back. Okay, and then this one is a light up card. So when you push here, the twinkle lights in the wreath are going to come on. So we'll be using that Pear Blossom Press twinkle light. So hope your Christmas sparkles. And then wishing you twinkly lights and cozy nights are the greetings. And you can see you've got a dangling ornament here and a dangling candy cane in the back. And then we've got that twinkle light wreath that we're going to create using those holiday charms. So that's going to be card number two. So if you're interested in that class, it is a store exclusive. You can still go to KarenBurniston.com, go to the events tab. You'll find a list of the stores that are making kits for November. The Zoom date is November 15th at 11 a.m. Central. You do not have to be there. You can, do it off the recording. The recording gets sent out the next day. But if you are there, then it'll be just like this one, except for you can stop me and ask questions and things like that. So we would love to see you there. All right, everyone. Happy crafting. Have a great rest of your weekend. Bye.